When Jesus warns us not to cast pearls before swine, he isn't speaking in poetic exaggeration. He's pointing to a psychological reality that Carl Jung understood deeply. Not everyone has the inner structure to receive truth. Some people simply aren't formed enough, morally, emotionally, or spiritually, to handle anything precious. And when you hand something of value to a person who cannot recognize its worth, you don't merely waste the gift. You expose yourself to unnecessary harm. They will trample the insight underfoot, not out of malice necessarily, but out of an inner blindness that prevents them from perceiving meaning. And when something profound threatens their fragile worldview, they often react with hostility. Jung would say they project their unresolved shadows onto the bearer of truth. So the warning is not just moral, it's developmental. You must discern who has the capacity to carry the weight of what you're saying. And when you encounter someone who cannot, silence becomes an act of wisdom, not withdrawal, but protection of both yourself and the integrity of what is sacred. Some truths become poison in the wrong environment. Guard your pearls. Not everyone is ready for light. Proverbs warns repeatedly that a fool does not receive correction. And this isn't a statement about intelligence. It's a statement about psychological rigidity. A fool, in the biblical sense, is someone who has fortified their ego against growth. They are defended, closed off, and deeply committed to their own illusions. When you speak truth to such a person, you aren't offering them clarity. You're threatening the fragile structure that holds their identity together. Jung would say that the fool is possessed by his own shadow, blind to his shortcomings, yet quick to project them onto whoever challenges him. And when you try to illuminate that blindness, the response is rarely gratitude. It is anger, contempt, or mockery, because admitting truth would require admitting fault. This is why Scripture warns us not to correct such people. It is not a rejection of compassion. It is a recognition of psychological limits. You cannot drag someone toward insight if their psyche is determined to remain asleep, and your attempts to enlighten them may only entangle you in their chaos. So the task is to discern as I speak where there is openness, refrain where there is resistance. Saving your breath is sometimes an act of wisdom. Don't waste truth on closed hearts. There are people who don't just misunderstand what you say, they distort it. And this distortion isn't always intentional. Often it's the psyche defending itself. Jung understood that the human mind filters reality through layers of projection, fear, and unmet needs. When someone hasn't integrated their own shadow, they cannot hear your words as they are. They twist them into shapes that fit their inner narrative. So you may offer honesty, and they reinterpret it as an attack. You may offer clarity, and they convert it into suspicion. This is why Scripture warns against entrusting meaningful truth to those who pervert or contend with it. When a person is at war within themselves, anything you say becomes ammunition for that inner conflict. Your words are no longer received, they are used. In those moments, silence isn't passivity, it's protection. It preserves your integrity and spares them from a truth they cannot handle without reshaping it into something destructive. And if you pay attention, you can feel the shift, the subtle tension in the conversation. The way your meaning evaporates as it enters their psychological field. That's when you know you owe them nothing further. Guard your voice. Not every ear is capable of hearing truth as truth. Some truths are not rejected. They're simply too heavy for the unformed psyche to carry. Even Jesus practiced discernment in this regard. He spoke in parables to the crowds, not because he wished to hide truth, but because he understood that spiritual depth demands psychological readiness. Jung would echo this. Every individual has an inner process of maturation, and when insight arrives, before the structure to support it, it becomes overwhelming rather than enlightening. You've seen this in your own life. You share something deeply personal or spiritually meaningful, and instead of understanding, the other person responds with confusion, discomfort, or even dismissiveness. It's not always hostility, sometimes it's immaturity. Their inner world is still assembling itself, still developing the capacity for nuance. And when you force a revelation into a space that cannot hold it, you risk damaging both the message and the person. So withholding is not arrogance, it's alignment with the natural pace of growth. It's recognizing that timing is a spiritual discipline. Some seeds must wait for the right soil, the right season, the right level of consciousness. And when you honor that timing, you honor the truth itself. Share wisely. A revelation given too early becomes a burden, not a blessing. There's a reason Scripture warns us about the enemy disguised as a friend. Not every threat announces itself with hostility. Some people draw close with warm smiles, gentle questions, and an appearance of loyalty. But internally, their motives are shaped by insecurity, envy, or unacknowledged resentment. Jung would describe this as the shadow operating beneath the surface, influencing behavior in ways even the person themselves may not fully understand. These individuals seek information not to support you, but to gain leverage, to maintain control, or to soothe their own inadequacies by quietly undermining yours. And the tragedy is that their betrayal often takes place in subtle moments. The misplaced confidence, the private detail you share too casually, the vulnerability they were never meant to hold. You can sense it if you pay attention. The slight hesitation when they praise you, the flicker of discomfort when you succeed, the way they seem eager to know your plans but slow to celebrate your progress. This is why discernment is not optional. It's a moral obligation. Protecting your inner life is not paranoia, it is stewardship. Some people stand beside you only to observe your steps. So choose carefully who you allow near your vision. Guard your circle. Not every companion is aligned with your destiny. There's a subtle but crucial distinction between humility and oversharing, and many people blur that line without realizing the cost. We live in a culture that romanticizes openness, as if revealing everything about yourself were a sign of authenticity or moral strength. But Scripture consistently teaches restraint, guard your heart, protect your plans, weigh your words. Jung would say that the psyche needs boundaries just as the body needs skin. Without them, everything leaks out, your fears, your hopes, your vulnerabilities, into places where they can be mishandled or misunderstood. Oversharing isn't honesty, it's exposure. And exposure without discernment invites the wrong forces into your inner life. When you habitually reveal too much, you give other people access to parts of you they have not earned the right to hold. You allow their judgments, projections, and unconscious shadows to interfere with your own growth. Some truths lose their power when spoken prematurely. Some dreams collapse under the weight of unprepared ears. Silence, in these moments, becomes a form of containment, a way of allowing your inner world to mature before revealing it to the outer one. So speak with intention. Let your words serve your path, not sabotage it. Not everything sacred was meant to be shared.